I've had some people ask me how I listen to all of my foreign language podcasts on the go, as in when I'm away from this computer. It's with this thing. Because, as many of you know, at least those who were asking this question, I do not have or use a smartphone. And so this thing is extremely handy. I literally have multiple of them of different models. This is an MP3 player, highly useful. But that's not what today's video is about. Today's video is about AI, something that I generally don't like talking about on this channel because I view it as a quite evil and wasteful form of tech, but more than anything, I view it as indicative of the era that we're living in, one that is marked by all of these signs of cultural and societal degeneration that I just don't like, that I don't vibe with. I think in many respects, the way that modern technology is being utilized is making us worse as humans, and aesthetically, a lot of the stuff that is produced for modern audiences or using modern technology looks awful. Um, but on the bright side, there is something that AI tools are very effective for, and that is removing watermarks from memes, especially old school memes, like old style looking memes, the kind that often appear on Twitter. Um, these tools are very good for removing those watermarks, which is something that I am very happy to see because I cannot tell you how frustrating I found it for years to come across a good meme, a good image, and then there's a watermark on it. There's a watermark advertising somebody's Twitter handle or somebody's Discord server, and it's like, if you're going to make a meme in the style of how the old memes looked, why would you just put this gaping wound on your image, this tramp stamp on your image that indicates the true era it comes from, totally ruining the vibe, totally ruining the nostalgic feeling. I couldn't stand it. Just in terms of like aesthetic uniformity, it looked terrible, and also it was a gaping reminder of the annoying era we're living in, where everybody is constantly trying to bring more attention to themselves and to their social media accounts. I'm not interested in any of that. I'm not interested in that whole world. And so the fact that AI can be used to actually remove a lot of these terrible markings on what would otherwise be good images is awesome. And it does it very well because image generation or image alteration technology has come very far. And so when you actually remove that part of the picture, it reproduces what would otherwise be under it perfectly. And that is very good. Moreover, and this is something I've talked about on the channel before, AI is an extremely effective tool for creating personalized learning materials such as quizzes or asking it specific questions about a problem that you're working on. Something that I have liked to do is literally just take a picture or a screenshot of something that I'm reading when I notice something interesting grammatically is going on there, and then I'll just give it to AI and I'll ask, hey, I noticed this strange pattern here. What is going on grammatically in this sentence? Like, can you try to explain this syntax to me in as much detail as possible? And it'll give me a fairly detailed answer, and then I will read the answer critically, and if I notice something is incorrect, I'll mention the doubts that I have, and then it'll correct itself, and then I'll ask it for more examples of similar sentences, of sentences that use a similar syntax. And I'll go through them, and if I'm feeling, really studious, I will make a quiz for myself that allows me to actually put to use those patterns that I'm in the process of internalizing. And I will often save those either to Anki cards or to my notes, like my physically written notes or what have you. And this is a very useful use of artificial intelligence. And it's not using it in a manner where you are uh, giving it content for it then to do all the work for you. Rather, you are using it as an advanced tool to help you through your own thought process, to help generate material to actually make you think more and to think further. And this is very useful. It has taught me quite a lot, and it has allowed me to accelerate further in my learning process. These are two uses that I think are very good for AI. I'm not, this kind of anti-AI fundamentalist, although I think probably from like a legislative perspective, its use probably shouldn't be as widespread as it is just because of the impact that it has on the price of electricity, you know, um, water resources, which are, of course, scarce. All of these things are quite concerning. Um, and in general, I don't like the impact that it's having on culture, where more and more people are using it to replace the process of thinking rather than aid in the process of thinking. Of course, a lot of that is up to individual decisions rather than the technology, but we know that when this kind of technology is often introduced to a population in an unstructured, unregulated manner, uh, the people end up doing things that aren't the best. So I think there's clear benefits to it, especially in the two examples that I just gave, which granted are quite niche examples, but they're examples that apply to me. Um, but I come at this from the perspective of someone who just generally doesn't like what the technology represents in terms of how it has impacted the conversation that we're all collectively having. The fact that, like, when I use um, grammatically correct text, when I make grammatically correct text online, it's not uncommon for people to say, oh, this looks like it was written by AI. No, it was just written by somebody who knows how to write, or when I just happen to type like an autistic person, I've had one or two people say that my responses come off like AI. But no, my responses just come off like somebody who reads things. And it's very strange. There's sort of this, the, the way that people have incorporated the existence of these tools into the way that they interpret the world day by day, I find to be very annoying, and generally just indicative of the historical moment, the era that we are living in. And I don't like that. I don't like reminders of that. I want to live in my own bubble. I don't want to live in that other world. I want to live in the strange world, in my own world, as I've said many times. And generally speaking, I try to hide under a rock. I try to stay away from all that noise and just all the things that are happening in the world and the things that people are doing and saying that inspire negative feelings in me. I stay away from all that and I just focus on doing my own thing. And generally that's enough for me. I feel like more social people, or people who don't have some of the freedoms or privileges that I have, don't have it so easy. They have to engage with a lot of this stuff, and I feel for those people if they don't like it the way that I don't like it. But at the end of the day, that is the situation that I'm in. I largely choose to ignore it, so much so that I rarely talk about it on this channel. I mean, I've talked about it a few times, mainly to give advice or to talk about the state of society as I am right now. But the reason I tend not to talk about it nearly as much as other people on the internet is simply because it doesn't affect me. Because I am not actively consuming a lot of content where it's being brought up. I'm not talking to people who bring it up a lot. I'm not talking to very many people in general. I've had, some maybe not unfortunate, but kind of funny experiences like the ones that I described earlier with people describing me as being similar to AI, but that's more of just kind of a goofy, insult that somebody would give. Um, and that's fine, It's there are these moments, when you sort of fall into the modern world for a moment, and then you realize, okay, I've been here too long. I got to get out of here, and then you go back to your own world, and you start to appreciate the things that you have there more. But needless to say, AI is a strange technology. It does have some uses. Outside of those uses, I simply choose to not think about it and to not participate in this modern world that so many people seem to think it is impossible to escape from. The truth is, it is possible to escape from it. You just have to design your own sort of environment that you'd prefer to be in.